Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. I'm in the studio and I'm all alone. We were in Manchester last night for the Christmas show and there's only a couple of us in, the hardcore who've made it. What a night it was last night and what a night it will be tonight for the watch along as it's Manchester United against Bayern Munich in what is going to be a do or die game. Is it Eric Ten Hag's last chance? We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about this article that maybe got lost in our busyness yesterday, coming out from David Ornstein and Samuel Luckhurst about players that are up for sale, financial fair play, the implications of what that means for tonight and how it's important that we still have European football when we wake up tomorrow morning. And we've also got what I would describe as a watching brief exclusive around the future of Jadon Sancho, which we'll talk to you about as well, coming in from a very well-sourced source. We'll talk about that. I hope you're doing very well. Throat is fine. Voice is fine, just slightly off. I was in one of these Albert Schloss places in Manchester last night. A bit loud for me, so it has had an impact on the throat. But big shout out to 3 Norwegian fans who were in McDonald's near Piccadilly last night at 2:30 in the morning. One of them lost their suitcase. They're at the match tonight. Very, very great company. And great to share a few chicken nuggets with them and talk about Manchester United. But enough of that. I hope you're all doing very well. Let's fly into it. I want to talk about, well, look, David Ornstein said yesterday Anthony Martial will not have his contract renewed. There was also a list from the Manchester Evening News about players that are going to go. We're obviously going to give you the update on Jadon Sancho. There's a bit coming in from Italy about Mason Greenwood to Lazio in January as well. So lots to get our teeth into, but I think it would be remiss, even on a news show, not to talk about the game tonight for Manchester United, because it's not that I want to build it up, but it's absolutely massive. It's huge. I know we've got Liverpool at the weekend, but this game, look, Liverpool will take care of itself, and I think we know what might happen in this, but I think it is so important tonight. Everyone I spoke to yesterday who's going to the game, really excited. I hope you're really excited as well. We're Manchester United supporters, and despite our shortcomings and concerns, it's so important that we win this game. I expect a demand actually, that the players perform tonight, and I think that they will. We've got to win. Even a win won't be good enough in some senses. Robert McCormack's in the chat. What a legend on the front row. He says, great night. How are you sobered up already? Hardcore, mate. But the point I was going to make is the scenarios are this. If we win, we go to 7 points. It doesn't knock us through to the Champions League knockout stages. If Copenhagen win or Galatasaray win, then they will be above us. They'll have 8 points and we'll have 7. So we need Galatasaray and Copenhagen to draw and us to win to stay in the Champions League. If we win, then we will be in the Europa League, even if one of those two win. So win keeps us in Europe. It'll either be the Champions League or the Europa League. So a win tonight will keep us in Europe. It might still be Europa League if either Copenhagen or Galatasaray win. So a win will keep us in Europe. A draw only works for the Europa League, and that only works if Galatasaray beat Copenhagen. If those two draw and we draw, we're out. If we draw and Copenhagen win, we're out because Galatasaray's head-to-head is better. If we draw and Galatasaray win, we've got a better head-to-head to Copenhagen, so we'd be third. So win is important. And we're going to wander on to transfer news now, but look, we've done the poll. It was very close on whether you'd rather be in Europe or out of Europe. I think there's 2 big reasons why I say we need to be in Europe, and get your comments in on what your thoughts are. I obviously want to talk about team news because Martial and Rashford were both ill yesterday, but we have to win. We have to win because we're Manchester United, and we have to take whatever is presented to us. And if that's European football on a Thursday night in the Europa League, I won't like it, but I'll take it over nothing, because it's one thing before Christmas going, I don't want it, but I guarantee you come February, when we're playing 1 game a week, you'll be going, oh, I'd like to play actually. You'll want it. Because we all want to watch Man United. So that's one reason. The second reason, financially, we're screwed. We are a club in crisis financially. The Sir Jim Radcliffe deal, nobody knows what that's going to deliver. In fact, at the show last night, we had like 560 people there. I said, put your hands up if you'd sell Rashford. About 30% of the room did. I said, put your hands up if you'd sell Onana. About 30% of the room did. So you can see, what's going on. I said, put your hand up if you think Sir Jim will do well. less than 5% of the room. So nobody knows what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's going to do. We can't say that not being in Europe's going to be fine financially. What I know today about Manchester United is we're in huge debt. We owe loads of money on transfers. We need to buy players, and financial fair play for us is not good. So I can't sit here and say, you know what, I think it'll be better for us if we're not in Europe. That's 10, 20, 30 million if we're in the Europa League that we need. And also, it's an opportunity to qualify for the Champions League next year, which we probably won't get from the Premier League. So I don't like it, but I think we've got to be in Europe. At 10 o'clock tonight, we've got to be in Europe one way or another. And also, another good point, and I think this was Ryan and Beth were at the press conference yesterday, and they were talking to some people, and there was a conversation about Man United not being in Europe. And basically what they were saying is that also you've got to remember the squad size of Manchester United. If you've got one game a week between February and the end of May, that's one game a week. Like, what are we going to do with this massive squad? Like, how are we going to rotate it with one game a week? So we've got to be in Europe. We've got to be in Europe. How do I think the game goes tonight? What pressure do I think is on Erik Ten Hag? Look, if these players don't perform tonight, even though I'm Ten Hag in, it could be his last chance. It could be do or die. I'm not going to pretend that there isn't a pathway to Ten Hag losing his job, and being out of Europe completely is a big... If you're on the pathway to being sacked as a Manchester United manager, we know the pathway. Players start to turn on you, media starts to turn on you, fans start to turn on you, you're not qualifying for the Champions League, and you're out of Europe. Those are ticks. All 5 of those things are ticked. Now, I don't think he's lost the fans. I think the media are turning. I don't think all the players have gone yet, but there is a tick tonight out of Europe. That is there. And that's on the list of things that happen when you get the sack from Manchester United. So I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that if we go out of Europe tonight, Ten Hag's safe. That will have big ramifications in the boardroom, for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, for the Glazers, for the things I've just said. Financially, they'll be going, what the hell has happened there? What the hell has happened there? But these are conversations for after the game. I look at the game tonight. He's got to get hold of that fucking midfield. I was talking to Ricky last night, and I think Ricky's a bit unsure about Ten Hag. And there was 2 things I agreed with Ricky. I said, look, and if you're at the show last night, we had Ben Foster on the show, and I was talking to him about Onana, and I said, look, I'd have kept De Gea, but Onana worries me because in the Champions League, we've been bad this season, haven't we? We've been bad. We've been bad, haven't we? And we have been bad this season, but in the Champions League, we have been not so bad in relation to scoring goals. Onana's the reason we're going out of the Champions League. You look at the games in the Champions League. Yeah, we should have played better, but he's cost us this. So Onana worries me, but also the midfield worries me. I don't get what we're doing in the midfield, and these are criticisms of Ten Hag. Somebody said to me yesterday actually on the live chat, they were like, "How can you be Ten Hag in, but you criticise things he does?" And I'm like, how can you be a human being if you don't realise in life you can like something but call out bad things? I love Mrs. Goldbridge, but if she puts the wrong milk in my tea, I'm going to criticise the tea and her. That doesn't mean I don't love her. The people you care about, actually, sometimes you have to criticise and be constructive. And I care about what Manchester United do. I care about what Ten Hag is doing, but I'll call out the criticisms, and I'll call, actually, it's like being toxic, isn't it? It's like, people say, oh, you're toxic over the years when we've been critical of things. I don't think we're toxic. I think we actually care. I think the people who go, win, lose or draw, I'll be there, I think you're just an idiot, to be honest. I think, where's your standards as a Manchester United fan? So the last 10 years, you're going to keep going, yeah, win, lose or draw, I don't care if the players turn up or not. Bullshit. It's not toxic to call out things when you care about the bigger picture. I care about Man United. If I see players that aren't performing in a Man United shirt, then I'm going to call it out. And the same with Ten Hag. I think he can be the right man for Manchester United, but there are a couple of things that worry me about it. We're going to talk about this transfer stuff. Stev says we're in for a horrible week. Bayern will win comfortably and Liverpool will give us another 5, 6 or 7 smashing. These players have given up. And Kai says, do you think we could have potentially down tools against Bournemouth so we can go full throttle against Bayern? I do think we'll go full throttle tonight, Kai. But going back to what I was saying there, and I was saying this to Ricky last night over a pint, I said, the midfield thing bothers me the most. And what are we going to do tonight with the midfield? Because if there is a criticism of Ten Hag, and this is a criticism of Ten Hag, the way he set that midfield up this season is abysmal. It's abysmal. It started with Wolves, Casemiro, dancing with Wolves. Wolves were dancing all the way through our midfield. Forget us dancing with Wolves, they were dancing all the way through because Casemiro was on his own, and was it Mount and Bruno who were up the pitch? We've seen it with Mainu against Newcastle, McTominay and Bruno up the pitch, leaving him on his own. We've seen Amrabat at the weekends, McTominay and Bruno leaving him on his own. This is clearly a tactical thing. You can't pick Scott McTominay just because he might score a goal. Like, he's got to do the defensive work, and I don't know what Ten Hag's trying to do. But there was a great quote from the Bournemouth manager after the game on Saturday, and he said, we knew Man United would commit players to the attack, and we knew if we were calm and we dealt with it, we could break away and hurt them. And that's, I know that's a Bournemouth manager, but I know that, you know that, everybody knows that. So why is Ten Hag keeping doing it? Are we successful with this? Loads of players forward and getting caught on the break? No, we're not. Really need Kim Min-jae in the summer. Now he starts against us tomorrow. Mark says Taco. I'm Mrs. Goldbridge out now, says Rickard. But look, I think tonight he's got to sort that midfield out. And with an eye on Liverpool at the weekend, you can't go to Liverpool and not play a 2. You can't go to Liverpool and not play a 2. Unfortunately, I don't think we've got a chance today. We're going to concede 4 or 5, says Abhishek. If he puts Amrabat and Mainu together as a 2 and plays Bruno ahead, I think we'll be okay. But we already know it's not going to happen because Scott McTominay was in the press conference. So we're going to play either Mainu or Amrabat on their own with McTominay and Bruno pushing forward. And that could be a nightmare. But I think Bayern Munich are vulnerable, and I'm going to say we're going to win tonight. I think we're in for a big result tonight, and I'm up for that. But look, it is do or die in relation to European football, and it is... I will acknowledge, if we go out of Europe, that is a big, bad tick on the list of sacking Erik Ten Hag. And I don't want him to be sacked. But as I said, there are probably 5 things that I think sack a manager. The fans turn, the media turn, the players drop down tools, you go out of Europe and you don't qualify for Europe. Those are the 5 things. Well, tonight, one of those things could be down. The players could be half down. The media are half down, and then you're just left with qualifying for Europe and the fans. And I think that's a great way to look at it. Whether you're Ten Hag in or Ten Hag out, the Goldbridge 5-point plan to being sacked as Manchester United manager, you've got to knock them all down. But tonight, if you're Ten Hag out, Europe gone. Players are already downing tools. Media are already downing tools. I can't do it with my right hand. You're left with 2 things, fans and qualification for Europe next season. So, look, it's a massive night. It's absolutely massive. And if there are any players that don't fancy it, they're not stupid. They'll be going out of Europe tonight. We're a step closer. He thinks McTominay is Bellingham, says Stephen Willocks. Yeah, I've got a mate who thinks his wife's like that. Not Bellingham, but he thinks... anyway, I think I'm still thinking I'm on the stage. Can I just say as well, the live show last night, we did record it. You'll be getting a Christmas present if you're part of the members club. It's going to be out in the next week or so. The whole show, the quiz, the forum, my intro, the whole lot will be on our members section for you before Christmas. So if you're a member, keep an eye on that. If you want to join the members club, join the members club. Scotty says, flesh it out, Goldie. And Savage is laughing about something. Hoyland Bracing coming tonight, says Emin. I hope so. Oh, yeah. Brilliant last night. You know, I started off the whole Rasmus. Whole crowd of people doing that last night was very powerful. Well done to all of you. We've got plenty more shows to come in 2024. You need to get yourself along to them. We had people coming from South Africa, Australia, America, Mexico. I mean, they are going to the game tonight as well, but they weren't just for the United stand, but it was a fantastic night. Talking about players that might be downing tool, though, this is a watching brief. Right, this has come in from what we would describe as a very good source. But how I word it, I just want to be very careful about how we word this because, I always say, when the dressing room leaks, well, who are the leaks? So this is coming from a very good source, and we can identify the player, Jadon Sancho, and the story goes like this, and we'll have to just see how it develops. It's understood that Jadon Sancho might not leave in January. Jadon Sancho doesn't necessarily see his future away from Manchester United because he's got a watching brief on what happens with Ten Hag. And if Ten Hag gets the sack, then Jadon Sancho may not be going in January. So that's very logical, but it's interesting where we've heard that from. Now, what you do with that information in your head's up to you. What I think about that is that, look, personally, if I'm going to respond to that, which I will, I want Sancho to go. I want Sancho to go. I think that I was on the stage last night and I was like, you know, he very nearly came to the show because he's got nothing to do, but then he had a Fortnite tournament on Twitch. But he did come to the after party. And, you know, I do and was very excited about Sancho, but I don't think Sancho's future at Manchester United is dependent on Ten Hag being sacked. I think that completely and utterly misunderstands. Welcome to the Members Club, by the way, Ian O'Connell. Ian's a legend, by the way. Love Ian. Hope you're doing well, mate. It misunderstands the Manchester United fan base. If Jadon Sancho or Manchester United or his agent or his mates in the dressing room think that Sancho can reignite his future if the manager gets sacked, you are very, very much mistaken. And I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about this fan base. We might not all get on, but I will always credit this fan base, even the people that don't like the United stand, they are pure United fans who remember what this club's all about and remember how people treat this football club. Look, I was in classic football shirts in London on Thursday and they had a Tevez one from the 08 season. And I said, you know what? And you'll see the video of that coming out soon. I said, you know what? That season, he was fucking brilliant. I loved Tevez that season. You couldn't find a player that would run more than him. He was brilliant that season and we loved him. And then he shit on us and went to City and we don't like him. And he held the fucking thing up on the tour bus about Sir Alex, rest in peace. Fuck him. But for that season, he was great. But if you fuck the United fans over, you're done. It's not just the obvious ones like Di Maria. Tevez actually, what Tevez did in that season is more than most of these players that are going to play tonight. Tevez probably, without Tevez actually in that season contributed more to Manchester United's history than these players combined over the last 5 years. Like that season, he was great, but he shit on us. And maybe that was because Sir Alex didn't want to give him a contract and Man City did, but Tevez is not a popular name at Man United. But he was brilliant that season. So Amir says, I wanted to say why I do not want Europa League is because I'd rather have a week of training to get this lot to implement the style of play better. I agree with you, Arna, on that one. But, so Arna says, I don't want any European football if we don't get Champions League tonight because I want a week of training for the players to train together. Two things. Financially, we just can't afford it. I don't disagree with you, but financially it will screw us over. And two, it's not really done Poch any good having a whole week off with his players, has he? So, you know, last year we played high line. If we're still playing the high line, there would be no gaps to break, says Michael. Yeah, I agree with that one. But going back to that point, if Sancho thinks he can stay at United if Ten Hag gets sacked, I think he's mistaken and I don't think he's reading the room very well. I would say the Tevez effect will come into play. You can be a player that's delivered in the shirt, but if you shit on the club, you're done. Forget your legacy. Jadon Sancho has no legacy, has shit on the club, but thinks he can still play for it if the manager changes. I don't think certain United fans will give him a second chance because he literally has been sat there for 3 months refusing to apologise. I don't care about Sancho's issue with Ten Hag. Ten Hag's the manager. I trust the manager. But what I do care about is a player that is paid by us, sitting on his backside for 3 months, having an argument with the manager. The players should be thinking about the fans and the club. Their priority should be to play football for the club that pays them. And the fans pay the players. It's not the club. The reason Man United can give Sancho 300 grand a week is because you lot support Manchester United. And you buy the merchandise and you buy the tickets and you pay Sky or TNT or whatever your broadcaster is in your country. These players play for you. If you go on strike because you don't like Ten Hag, you're also going on strike against the players. And that's what people like Jadon Sancho need to realise. So I don't think... I don't disagree with the story that Sancho doesn't necessarily think he's going in January and he could survive if Ten Hag gets the sack. But I wouldn't want to be Jadon Sancho putting a Man United shirt on at Old Trafford in late January after Ten Hag's been sacked. I think some people will back him. Some people on social media still back Pogba. Some people on social media still still like with Weghorst. It takes all sorts when it comes to football opinion. But I don't think Sancho's reading the room here. I don't think his future's dependent on Erik Ten Hag. I think his future's been dictated by his behaviour and his relationship with United fans. I'm not convinced he could turn that around. What did you make of the training video of United, the one where they're doing the drill and keep losing the ball? Other fans are loving it. Anthony. I've seen this training drill. Ricky was going mad about it. The more beers Ricky put in his mouth last night, the more he was laughing and telling people. I mean, he must have told me the story about 10 times. Chris Proctor, welcome to the Members Club. But look, it's embarrassing. But on the other hand, we all know things can get taken out of context. Maybe all week we've been passing the ball around brilliantly. The important thing is, and McTominay's right, the players need to deliver tonight. Regardless... You know what? Even if you're Ten Hag out, right? Imagine if you're Ten Hag out. This is how it works, right? And I've had people say this to me, and certain people said it to me last night. They were like, "If we lose tomorrow and it hastens Ten Hag's exit, I'll take the loss." I don't understand that. Maybe you do, but this is what I will say: if you have that mentality, you're basically saying, I don't care if the players don't turn up tonight if it means Ten Hag gets sacked. How can your brain operate like that? How can you support players that will lose a game to get rid of a manager? I don't care whether you're Ten Hag out or Ten Hag in. I do not want any player at this football club that can down tools and disappoint millions of you. I don't want that. We're Manchester United and the players have a responsibility, whether they like the manager or not. When you walk out onto the Old Trafford pitch, you're playing for yourself, you're playing for the badge, and most importantly of all, you're playing for the fans. And they've got to deliver tonight. I would say to any player that's thinking about downing tools tonight, I would say this. You're doing yourself out of money and bonuses, if that's your God. You're also not really making a massive impact. If Ten Hag's not going to be successful, he will get the sack. At some point, he will get the sack. He will. But it's very important that United win tonight. And it's beneficial for you if United win tonight. The players don't realise that it damages them as much as it damages Ten Hag. Anyway, let's talk about some transfer news. We've got a story that came in yesterday from David Ornstein, in fact, that Anthony Martial will not have his contract renewed by Manchester United in the summer. Now, Manchester United have got the option of renewing for a year with, what's his name, Anthony Martial. But we've heard different things. I am very, very, very comfortable with Manchester United not giving Anthony Martial a new contract. But I have also said to you, and I've been proven right on this, that they will just let his contract run down. Now, some of you might think that that's a good idea, but I actually think that it's a bad idea. And I'll explain why. Because we've paid how much money for Anthony Martial? It's always a tough one, but it's about... Liam says, I've honestly never understood how anyone wants a loss. No, I don't. But as I say, it takes all sorts. And there will be United fans out there that, you see it in their eyes. They really do want us to lose. And then when we win, their reactions are a little bit, you can tell it's, they wouldn't get a job on Hollyoaks. As I say, I don't respect it. But I don't really respect it. I understand it to a certain extent. It's the mentality of short-term pain for long-term gain. It is. And the closest I came to it was with Van Gaal at the end of the season, when if we'd scraped top four, he might have kept his job. And I knew Mourinho was waiting in the wings. And I just thought, for Manchester United's sake, it would be better if we moved him on. But look, going back to what I was saying about Anthony Martial, there's a few players to talk about. But David Ornstein basically saying that Manchester United will not renew Anthony Martial's contract, and he's expected to leave as a free agent next summer unless suitable offers arrive in January. I mean, this is another failure of Manchester United, because we've spent about £60 million on Anthony Martial since we bought him. He's still only 28. He's not been injured since August, and he's been training every week. So the injury things seem to have calmed down a bit. We pay him over 200 grand a week as well. So for a 28-year-old to walk out the club for nothing in the summer is just another massive failure on the part of Manchester United. David De Gea we should have got some money for. Ander Herrera we should have got some money for. So yes, I think moving Anthony Martial on is a good idea, but let's not celebrate a failure of letting another player walk out the door for nothing at a huge loss. It's shambolic. It's shambolic. And I saw a lot of people yesterday saying, oh, great news, Martial's going. And I thought, you know what? Again, it's a little bit like I'd rather not qualify for Europe at all. Financially, Manchester United has been built on financially for, nearly 20 years. So we have to take note of it. And as Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in with whatever plans he's got, we can't ignore the fact that financially we're crippled. So removing Martial from the wage bill is great, but there's still a huge amount of money walking out that door that we've invested in that goes on the loss sheet. So, yeah, it's embarrassing, but, what do you expect with Manchester United? Martial does need to go, but the fact that we can't get any money for him and we're still paying him 200 grand a week is just another indication of how poor this football club is. Samuel Luckhurst in the Manchester Evening News also said yesterday that Manchester United will listen to offers for several players in the January transfer window. United are open to selling Varane, Casemiro, Martial, Sancho and Donny van der Beek. I mean, I find this incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'm not going to talk about Varane because I think there's been a fallout there. The Sancho thing makes a lot of sense. Martial makes a lot of sense. Donny van der Beek should have gone in the summer. But Casemiro? Really? I mean, as Savage says, why Casemiro? Why would you remove Casemiro from your... And also, in January as well, to me, it feels like Man United... Martial should go 4 managers in and never took off, says Keith. I agree with you, it's just the financials. But it feels to me like if we go out of Europe tonight and then we're selling Casemiro and Varane in January, I'll tell you what it feels like to me. It feels like to me like we're trying to avoid administration or going bankrupt. It's almost the Leeds effect. Remember when Leeds spent all that money and then didn't qualify for Champions League the second year and then they were financially fucked and they had to sell people? John, welcome to the Members Club. It feels to me like we're selling players because of their wage. Because whatever you think about the Varanes and the Casemiros, they're better. Varane's our best centre-back, there's no doubt about it. Casemiro is one of our best players. So if we're letting Varane and Casemiro go in January, that's not a footballing decision. There's no ready-made replacements in January. You can't replace Casemiro and Varane in January. You can't. We haven't got that. Well, you can if you've got 400 million to go and buy some top centre-back and some top centre midfielder, but you can't really replace anybody in January, unless you get very lucky. We couldn't replace Bruno Fernandes if Real Madrid offered us 300 million. Where would we go? Who could you get? January is a very difficult time to do business. So if we're letting Casemiro and Varane go in January, that's not a footballing decision. That's a financial decision. That's get these wages off to Saudi Arabia as quick as we can and balance the books. See it for what it is. You might be going, oh, I'd like Varane and Casemiro to go. Next summer, I'm not saying it's a problem, but January, halfway through a season, are we literally just downing tools this season and, fire sale, get rid of people? I mean, I don't know whether our eyes are wide open to what's going on at Manchester United. That's what I'm trying to say. Are we looking at this thinking that we can change the manager and compete for trophies? Or is it a far worse scenario where we're getting rid of high earners who are good players because we're in so much trouble? What if Sir Jim Ratcliffe's plan is to come into the club and cut costs and cut back and, do more with less? What if that's the big idea? What if Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers are like, we need to streamline, we've got to cut this all down? I think some people think the glory days are around the corner. What if there's a worse scenario around the corner? And what worries me about the Casemiro one is that he was our best player last season. He started the season badly, and people said his legs have gone. But we've already seen the evidence that it wasn't Casemiro. He was just on his own. We've seen Mainu get run through like Casemiro. We've seen Amrabat get run through like Casemiro. The tactics didn't help Casemiro at the start of the season. He's left on his own. So I still think Casemiro is the player he was last year. Why are we selling that? Because he's on a big wage. Why are we letting people who are good players go because they're on a big wage? Financials. Why are we worried about financials? Because the club's in trouble. So I worry about it. I worry about what we're going to do in January because I don't see a scenario where you let those players go and you replace them. I think it's about financials, and that's terrifying when you're going to get Aston Villa, Newcastle, Tottenham, maybe Arsenal, Liverpool, maybe Man City, certainly Chelsea. You're going to get 5, 6, 7 Premier League clubs who are competing for top 4 spending money in January, and we're going to be cutting back. The only way is down. Would you take Calvin Phillips on loan from City in January, says Biro? Would you? I don't think he'll come to Manchester United. Somebody said Emre Can to me the other day. I said, Emre Can has already done an interview saying he'd never play for Man United because he played for Liverpool. Calvin Phillips, I don't think, would come to Manchester United as a former Leeds player and a current Man City player. So what I would say to Calvin Phillips is, you're shit, I didn't want you anyway. It's a protection strategy, because I think if we as fans go, I'd like Calvin Phillips, he's going to go, I'd never play for Man United, and then you look a bloody idiot. So I'm going to assume he'd never play for United anyway and go, don't want you. So I'm not going to put any. I'm not even going to acknowledge it. I think there's no chance he'd sign for us, and therefore I'm going to say, you're crap, I wouldn't want you anyway. Glazers again, players are assets and used to borrow, says Shu. Thank you very much to that. Also, just I don't know what your thoughts are on this one as well. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is apparently at a deadlock with a new contract for him. I mean, does that coincide with another problem at Manchester United? I mean, Ten Hag has been picking Dalot recently. Discussions regarding a new contract for Wan-Bissaka have reached an impasse, which means there's deadlock. I mean, why is there an impasse with Aaron Wan-Bissaka? And I don't want to speculate too much, but does he not like the contract? Does he not like the wages? I mean, he would have been on very good wages when we signed him from Crystal Palace. You know, is this a case of United cutting back? We obviously want to give him a contract. So, I mean, the question to me is, should we give him a contract? I don't know. Look, if his wage demands are too high, don't give him a contract. I agree with that. But do you give him a contract anyway? I've got to be honest, I'm not overawed by either of our right-backs this season. I think Dalot going forwards works well with Anthony, but defensively worries me. I think Wan-Bissaka going forward is too hit and miss, but defensively, obviously, he's quite solid. I don't know about Wan-Bissaka. Nicholas says, last night you met my mate Alex from Australia. Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that. I do remember Alex from Australia. He came over and had a photo at the end of the night. But look, the thing I cracked this joke last night, actually, Nicholas, that you can have an assist on this. So on the Christmas show last night, I did a section where it was Man United players giving their Christmas list to Santa, what they'd like for Christmas. And Scott McTominay, it was a Ouija board, because obviously he's a ghost, so he could communicate with the players on the pitch. But for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, it was wing mirrors, so he can see what's behind him on crosses on the back post. So obviously those two things are jokes, but the point I'm trying to make is that should we be giving a new contract to Aaron Wan-Bissaka when we gave Dalot a new contract last year? You're committing to Dalot and Wan-Bissaka as your right-back options. I don't know about that. I think Wan-Bissaka does deserve a contract, minimum backup right-backs, as Keith. But remember, we've just given a new contract to Dalot. I've got to say, I don't believe, or they liked the joke, I don't believe that Dalot or Wan-Bissaka are good enough to be the right back that takes us to the next level. In fact, we did, again, on the Christmas show last night when I had Ben Foster on, it was probably one of the best sections of the show, because I said, you know, sod this, we've all had a drink, it's not on YouTube yet, and when it is on YouTube, it'll only be on the members section anyway, so not many people will see it, Ben. You will. But I said to him, I gave him a list of United players, and I said, keep or sell in relation to Man United being successful in the future. So, you know, players that can make us successful in the future. And with both Dalot and Wan-Bissaka, it was sell. And that doesn't mean you sell. In current circumstances, it doesn't mean you sell them. But if you want to be a team that's going to compete with the Liverpools and the Arsenals and Man Cities, and you've got to build a team to do that, I don't think Dalot or Wan-Bissaka are good enough right-backs to compete for titles. In which case, why are we giving contracts out? We've given the contract to Dalot, we've committed to that. Why give one to Wan-Bissaka? Because then you're saying that Dalot and Wan-Bissaka are good enough right-backs to, you know, solve that problem. I personally think one of them's got to go and you've got to bring a better right back in, whether it's for Ten Hag or somebody else. Now, Deleu's signed a contract, Wan-Bissaka's about to sign a contract, new manager comes in or Ten Hag's there. How are you going to sell one of them? They're on a long-term contract and we've been here before. The players who don't run today will reveal exactly who is Eric out in the dressing room. They know it's his last chance, says Decoy Gaming. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think in a sense that when you think about it, professional pride has to kick in at some point. Tonight, they will get absolutely castigated because it's 75,000 fans and we know we need to win. A draw's no good. So the crowd will want to be up for it. You know, the crowd, we want Manchester United to win. So there will be an amazing atmosphere there tonight. And if the players don't deliver, the fans will let them know. And if Ten Hag doesn't deliver with bad selections or subs, the fans will let them know. So I'm worried about tonight in the sense that it's exciting and it's a tough game, but I can't see a scenario where United don't play well or don't give it everything tonight. But on Sunday against Liverpool, I think we're going to lose. But on the other hand, professional pride's got to kick in as well. I mean, I was talking to Ryan on the way over here and I said, I'd take a 0-0 at Anfield right now. And you can set up for a 0-0. Like you can go to Anfield and play compact and deep with pace on the break. And he's got to look to do that. Like it's inexcusable to lose 6, 7, 8-0. Like that can't happen on Sunday. I'm not expecting us to go there and express ourselves. But we've got to play compact at Liverpool and professional pride's got to kick in. So that's going to take care of itself later in the week. But tonight, in front of 75,000 fans, we need to see Manchester United. We need to see Manchester United deliver. And people say, well, we need to see the Chelsea performance. Let's be honest, that Chelsea performance was good. It was very entertaining. But how many chances did we give up on the break in the first half? You know, if Nicholas Jackson wasn't so bad, I think he could have scored a couple of goals. Johnny, welcome to the Members Club. You know what my principles are with Goldbridge ball. I want to play the forward pass. You know, I want to move up the pitch, pass and move, etc. But you've also got to protect your clean sheet as well. And that doesn't mean you park the bus, but it's so obvious to me that Man United need to be compact. You know, if we keep a clean sheet, you're in the game. You're in the game until the final whistle if you keep a clean sheet. So you can keep a clean sheet, you've got a chance. If you play open and they're better than you, you could be 2-3-0 down at half time and you're gone. Next 2 games, you've got to protect that clean sheet. And that doesn't mean park the bus, but it means protect your back four. Protect it. And to do that, you've got to play a 2. And I'm not talking McTominay and Fred. I'm not talking about that sort of protection. But you know, put somebody next to Mourinho, put somebody next to Amrabat. Mainu's not really a CDM. I don't think Amrabat's really a CDM, but just tell them to stick there. And they're expressive players with the ball as well. But that won't happen. For some reason, he's going to go with either Mainu or Amrabat, McTominay and Bruno. And I think that will leave us open. So I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but the players need to deliver. They absolutely do. KC says there's a little bit of Donny van der Beek news. I'll have a look. I mean, Donny van der Beek news is really irrelevant to me. I've got no real interest in it at all. He should have gone in the summer, and he's clearly not part of the plans, and I'm sure he will do. Eintracht Frankfurt lead the race to sign Donny van der Beek on loan from Man United. Talks are advancing. Understand Girona also asked for Donny on loan, but offering conditions at this stage. Time for decision to do. Donny will leave. And again, that's a player that's going on loan. We can't sell. We can't sell. Sean Turner with a very generous super chat. Thank you, Sean. You're a legend. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is so much better than Deleuze. Deleuze is crap defensively and crap going forward. Called me old-fashioned. I want my defenders to defend a bit like keepers. I want them to save shots. No, fair point, Sean. What type of midfielder would you like United to get, says Dave. You know what? Dividas, I'm not even thinking about it, mate. Tonight's too important. We've got so many important games before January transfer window. And I don't think we'll sign a midfielder, really. But if Casemiro could stay fit, I'm quite happy with our midfield till the end of the season. You've got Casemiro, Mainu, Amrabat, Mount, Bruno, Eriksen, McTominay. There's enough to get us through to the summer. And then I would assess it in the summer. I mean, you're not going to get anything in January is my short point really there. The only thing I'd say about what Sean Turner said about Deleuze is that I think Anthony's been really good the last 2 games. I know it's only 2 games, but I think Anthony's played really well the last 2 games, and I'm hoping he'll keep it up tonight. But I don't think that's a coincidence that it's playing with Dalot. At the start of last season, Anthony and Dalot played very well together before the World Cup. People forget that. So I think Dalot works better with Anthony, and Anthony works better with Dalot. And they are good friends off the pitch as well. So there is a chemistry there. It's a bit like Rashford and Shaw. Both English lads know each other. They've had good connections in the past. So don't underestimate the connection between Dalot and Anthony, because sometimes you pick a player because it creates a better relationship down the flank. I don't know that Wan-Bissaka and Anthony works as well as Dalot and Anthony, and I think that's what Ten Hag is looking to do there. Just on the Mason Greenwood story, by the way, there's a bit of a rumour that Lazio might make a move for him in the January transfer window, take him on loan with an obligation to buy. I don't know that will happen. I mean, Lazio are a reasonable Serie A side. Getafe in La Liga are doing okay as well. Why would Mason Greenwood go from Spain to Italy? It depends, really. I don't know, but I think there will be interest in Mason Greenwood. But as I've said with Mason Greenwood, I mean, it's not, we're waiting to see what's going to happen with Sancho in January. With Greenwood, I think that's very much dependent on the takeover next summer, testing the waters about how the fan base feel. So I don't really have any comments on that. And then back to the game tonight, Rashford and Martial didn't train yesterday. Which probably changes my preview a little bit. I think the front 3 will be Garnacho, Anthony and Højlund from start, which I liked last week against Chelsea. I'd focus on Rashford off the bench. And I think Rashford might be quite useful at Anfield if we play deep and on the counter. So, but we need those players back. Whether you like Rashford or Martial, it doesn't really matter. We don't have a lot of depth. Like we need these players back. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. You're absolute legends. Loads tuning in this morning, and thank you very much for tuning in because a bit hungover today, but I'll be fresh and ready to go for the watch along tonight. We've got the build up, the countdown to kick off. We've got Van Cam with with Fred. Yeah, Fred's going to do fan cam. Kev. And Beth was at Carrington yesterday as well. Oh no, we haven't got Kev. We've got Beth at Carrington doing the road trip. Sorry. There we go. Just been told in the ear there. Been told off. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Don't forget, members, we will have the Christmas show for you going up on the members section in the next few days. If you want to join the members club, get your badge. It's going to be. I need to watch it back first and make sure that there's nothing inappropriate in there. But I've not had any complaints yet. Thanks everyone who came to the show last night as well. You're legends. It's so great to meet you all. We were doing photos for about 40 minutes after the show. The queue was massive, but it's important to me that we do that because so many of you get involved with this community. It's great to see everyone from all over the country and world there having a drink and a chat together, having a bit of a sing-song. I regret singing the Christmas one, but you might have seen it on socials. But it was a great night and really appreciate it. And hopefully tonight will be even better than last night, which will be hard, but that's on the players tonight. We've done our bit as a community last night. Let's deliver tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'll speak to you all in a bit. Let's do it. Take care.